Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm doing a 12-team standard scoring fantasy football mock draft. This time we're going to draft from the 7th spot. So hang around. We'll show you how to win your league by winning your draft. Let's start this fantasy football podcast right meow. All right, guys, welcome back. We are doing another fantasy football mock draft Monday. Flipping it around a little bit here this week. We're going to be hitting our rankings on the other episodes this week and probably drop another mock or two toward the end of the week, maybe, alongside some of the other episodes that we're trying to get out here, get things done before the last bits of the draft season end up. Another thing that we are doing, I think, here is keep your eyes peeled. We're going to be doing our kicker defense draft challenge. So both Justin and I think, are going to do, we're going to join Yahoo Public Leagues and draft either a kicker or a defense in the first round. And in the second round, we'll draft what we didn't draft either out of the kickers and defense. And then we're going to see who can end up finishing better over the course of the season. So we'll keep everybody updated as each week progresses, how we're moving on the waiver wire, what kind of stuff we're trying to pull. We're setting ourselves in a deep hole, I think, this year. So we'll see what happens. I just secretly hope that one of us ends up with the first overall pick. And then we, go out there and draft our X Factor, and he's a kicker. That'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, we are doing the 12-team standard scoring mock draft and going from the 7th spot. I had randomized that, but then I realized, 7th spot's probably a really complicated spot in a 12-team league right now, with the thinning out that's kind of occurred at running back to some extent. And it's that transition point where you start to consider the pass catchers. Now, it's a standard scoring league, so you're a little bit less concerned with pass catching backs. And so there's not as many backs that seem like they're great in that first half of the league. So let's dive in head first into the shallow end and let's start getting moving on this, right? Okay, so as you can see, I've already got it set up here. Let me just pop over on my screen here. We've got standard scoring and 7th spot out of a 12-team league. Standard positions. We've got 1 QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, 1 defense, 1 kicker. I always keep those in there because everybody has a league or a home league or something like that where guys are drafting defense in like the 9th or 10th round. Crazy stuff, right? So I like to keep those in there just as a variable. We've got 60 seconds on the clock. Let's get rolling on this. Now, like I said, it can be a little bit weird, right? Because you're in that transition zone, really. You don't really know exactly what's going to fall to you at that spot. You've got the potential for a running back, possibly, and you've also got a lot of wide receivers that are going to be available there. All right, so this one, off the board right off the top, we've got McCaffrey and Cook. That's to be expected. I think that, honestly, I lean McCaffrey this year, but I think that the two of them are both going to be very solid picks. So if you're at the first pick or the second pick, whichever one you end up with is going to be, I think, great this year. Derrick Henry went 3rd. Maybe you do or don't know my sentiments on Derrick Henry. I don't think that this year he's going to finish as a top 5 running back. I don't see it. I think people drafting him at third pick overall, standard or PPR or whatever, don't do it in PPR. But if he's going 3rd, I think you're drafting him for his ceiling, and he's not going to get there. The volume's just not going to be there. All right, so where we're going to go here, though, is I think Nick Chubb. I like Jonathan Taylor. We're passing on Saquon. He's all banged up, and I just don't see it. That offense is going to struggle a little bit, and I think that he's going to be the reverse beneficiary, right? He's going to be the one who suffers. And we're not going to go wide receiver here. Wide receiver depth in most leagues that I've mocked has been great in the upper half of the second round. And so if you are in the back half of the first round and you magically end up with a really good running back like Chubb, which is a great grab there, wide receivers are going to be plentiful in the second round. So I would absolutely recommend doing that. Now, if you're at the 8th or 9th pick and you manage to grab a running back that's really good, top-notch running back in that first round, you are set up great, because coming back around in that second half is going to be 1 or 2 of probably the top 3 or top 4 wide receivers in the league. And as you can see, 4th pick, second round, Ridley went off the board there. That's a great one. I like Adams. I like Hill. I see that Ridley went off the board. Stephon Diggs went off the board at the top of the second round as well. But what we've got here is DK Metcalf, and that's a really awesome grab. I do like AJ Brown as well. So I think I'm leaning wide receiver. Just get those two really solid picks up top, and both of those flagship picks essentially. Running back is thinned out, and I'm not as solid on those running backs there in the second round here. You've got Mixon and Eckler. Those are really good ones. Okay, so it auto-picked me. It grabbed DK Metcalf, who I was going to grab anyway, but that's a great grab, I think. That's exactly who I was going to grab. I just wanted to point out that the running backs were really thinning out at that point, and so the value really was sitting there at wide receiver. It's also still kind of sitting there at wide receiver as well right now. I do like McLaurin a whole lot this year. I think that he and Ryan Fitzpatrick are going to be a match made in heaven for that team. As far as running back goes, we've got Chris Carson, James Robinson. I think that those are Carson would be an okay pick at this point, but he's not one that I'm aiming for on my team right now. I think he's going to be a little bit more involved in passing game this year, so that's going to be beneficial for him. But I'm not willing to take him ahead of somebody like Terry McLaurin, who I do like a whole lot. I also like Allen Robinson at this point, and maybe CeeDee Lamb. I think that those are good ones. My issue with Mike Evans is there's a lot of mouths to feed, and he was kind of up and down. It's the same issue I see with Keenan Allen as well, where he's just a lot of volume in short bursts. So we're going to go with Terry McLaurin, and we're a little wide receiver heavy, but we're going to try to come back here and grab some of that running back depth. A lot of running backs have run off the board here, so that's a little tough, but there's a few guys here worth a grab. Mike Davis is a good one. It's a tad bit of a reach right now. Myles Gaskin is a good one too. I think that he's probably going to lead that backfield he might hold on to about 60% of the carries, I'm guessing. They're pushing here on us. Darrell Henderson, obviously we want to pass on him. He's gotten his time cut into significantly. And that's not a great situation with Sony Michel coming in town. If we wanted to go wide receiver here, and why don't we just see what happens? We got that solid running back up front. We don't have a whole lot of depth. We have no depth behind him. And then we've got two really good wide receivers there. We could go grab a third wide receiver. The running backs are a little bit thinner. Maybe I would want Mike Davis, but I would like to see Mike Davis come back around to me at the next pick. I don't know that he will. If he doesn't, there's a couple other guys that I'm interested in there. So I think we go with the wide receiver. And here I'm leaning probably Godwin, I think. I do like Amari Cooper this year. I think he'll be okay, but I'm going to go with Godwin. I also like Robert Woods there at that point. I think that's a pretty good pick. So, yeah. All right, so if we had passed on wide receiver and we had reached for running back, we would have kind of regretted it because it looks like the running backs are still there. They're recommending a tight end here in the 5th round. We're not going there. If Mark Andrews is the best thing left at tight end, we're going to pass on that. We could go with Kyle Pitts here. We could also hold off, go with Hawkinson later, or maybe somebody like Logan Thomas. There's Tunyon there as well. A couple other guys who I do like. I like Fant a little bit better, leaning that Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the QB, and so I do like him a little bit better there now. But I'm going to go with a running back here. As you know, we already need to shore up running back. Dak Prescott is still available here. That's pretty good. Russell Wilson is as well. I see that Rodgers is off the board already. But we're going to go with a running back. We need to pick up the depth here, the early round depth, because that is a position of need. Mike Davis is going to be a great addition to this team because he is likely to be the solid running back one, a true bell cow back, which there aren't that many of in this league. That's why McCaffrey's so good. That's why Cook is so good. It's not just that they're awesome and talented. It's that they also are bell cow backs. They get a whole lion's share of the carries, and that's just huge. All right, so so Kyle Pitts is there still. He has fallen quite a bit. I'm not aware of him being injured, and after seeing some of the plays of his most recent preseason games, he's pretty solid. He's going to be good. I don't necessarily like taking a tight end in the 6th. I usually start looking somewhere in the 7th or 8th in a 12-team league, but I can see doing it here. He's fallen quite a bit. the value that we get by grabbing him here as opposed to waiting another 2 rounds and getting somebody like maybe Logan Thomas, maybe Robert Tonyan, those guys might still be there, is dramatically different. If we look at the wide receiver position, the quality isn't there as much. I like Jerry Jeudy, but I'm not going to go grab him right now. Jamar Chase, he's got to start catching the ball, right? Now, the same thing was said about Devontae Adams when he came into the league, guys. So do pay attention to that. But the running backs are a little bit thinner. I would consider Melvin Gordon here, but I'm going to go with Pitts. Just try something a little bit different than what I'm used to doing. And look, Melvin Gordon fell there. Trey Sermon's hanging out there as well. He's not a bad pickup. I think he's going to lead that backfield in the long run over the course of the season, but you're going to be fighting a little bit with what's going on with Mostert. All right, so we are set up pretty nicely so far. I do still want to get another running back early here. I think that would be a good idea. And I see we do have our 3 wide receivers are all on bye weeks on week 9. So do pay attention to that. There appears to be some really high-end talent all in the same one there, guys. So pay attention to that. I don't draft being concerned about bye weeks. I never do. In fact, I almost prefer that they're either all spread out or they're all just localized into 1 or 2 weeks so that I have 1 or 2 really tough weeks they have to figure out, and that's it. QB, Justin Herbert's hanging out there. That's not bad. 7th round's a little early for me, especially because we can go get somebody like Melvin Gordon, who I don't see him competing with anybody for carries. I don't think Javonte Williams is taking his job anytime soon, and they're pushing him a whole heck of a lot. I'm going to go with Melvin Gordon. I would take Herbert maybe, but I want that running back depth. I really do. I want my flex spot to be a consistent, solid performing running back, somebody who I can just slot in, not worry about it, and set it, forget it. He's going to be fine, going to get me the regular number of points. He may not be flashy, whoever it is, but it's a guy who's going to be able to return solid numbers for me week in, week out. All right, at QB, there are a few guys who I would still consider here. It's 8th round, but I think we can float it for a little while longer, maybe. I go late QB. The difference between usually the first QB and the 12th QB is not dramatically, different enough from one another that it can make or break you. I think that I like the consistency of Tannehill, and usually in a position that you're just gonna hopefully have to make one move per the whole year, and that's to fill in a bye week. That's the kind of guy that you're looking for. I'm just gonna make sure we're not passing on anybody that I like. I do like Michael Carter a little bit, but I'm not going to take him over anybody else. We don't need a tight end. We're going to go with Tannehill. I do like Hurts here too, but Tannehill's consistent, and that's what we're looking for. We're just looking for consistency. Jalen Hurts would have been a good grab too. We could have waited around and gone another round and grabbed Jalen Hurts in leagues that have a difference between passing and rushing TDs or receiving TDs, where there's only 4 points for the passing TD. To try to minimize the value of the QB even further than it already is. A guy who rushes is so much more valuable. So if you're in a league that has 4 points for passing TDs, do consider the upside of grabbing a guy who's more likely to rush for 8+ TDs in his season. Now, I don't know that Jalen Hurts is going to get close enough to the end zone. They just brought in Gardner Minshew, so there's some question there, right? All right, let's go back to the running back, see what we've still got sitting on the board. A.J. Dillon's hanging out there. Jamal Williams is there too. Williams, I expect to get a good amount of work. They're talking really poorly about Sony Michel this year. I'm sorry, not Sony Michel. They're talking really badly lately about Swift. I saw Sony Michel's name there and brought him up, right? All right, wide receivers, I like Mike Williams here. So for me, at this point, it's between Mike Williams and A.J. Dillon. I'm going to have to go with Mike Williams, actually, I think. I just think that, it's a slight bit of a reach at that spot, but I'm concerned that A.J. Dillon's going to lose work to Kylan Hill. I do like A.J. Dillon a whole lot, but I see him losing probably 10 to 20% of his overall share to Kylan Hill. Kylan Hill has been very, very impressive this year, guys, and I think that if they end up eventually letting Aaron Jones go looking, or they'd let A.J. Dillon walk, which I don't see that happening. I think Kylan Hill sticks with the Packers pretty good. All right, so let's see where we're at. I want to pick up more running back depth, I think. We have 3 right now. We've got 4 wide receivers. I want to stick to both of those positions. We took care of tight end and QBs, so those are not really big concerns at this point. Fairly strong at tight end, I think, right now. I think that Pitts is going to break the mold for rookie tight ends. He's more of a wide receiver. So let's check out what's going on at running back. Maybe Latavius Murray here. I like Tony Pollard as well, but the wide receiver situation looks pretty good too. Darnell Mooney, Devontae Parker. We're going to go with Tony Pollard here, though. I think that's the right move. I'm not going to pick up a handcuff to a running back, especially on Denver. I'm not doing that. All right, so next, Jalen Hurts is still sitting on the board here at the 11th round. So I just wanted to make that point that you can find QB value really late. All right, you can. Now, he might have his ADP depressed a little bit simply because of Gardner Minshew coming in town and Joe Flacco kind of doing pretty good to show that, maybe Hurts isn't the guy. But I have to believe that Hurts is going to be the starter for at least a little while and see where they go from there. He's running QB. Minshew's slightly able to run, but he's just kind of proficient. Jalen Hurts provides an upside. I think it's he's the guy that I would go with. But he's available in the 11th round. That's awesome. All right, we've got running backs here. I think that's where we want to pick up running backs. We want to pick up wide receivers. Madison's hanging out there. He's one injury away from being a starter, a full-time guy. Wide receiver, maybe Jacoby Myers. You've got Jalen Reagor, Justin Gage. I'm going to go with running back, though, here, and I'm going to go with Madison. I think that you could grab Giovanni Bernard there. You're looking at depth picks at this point, so that's why you got to hit it early and often on running backs and wide receivers. And then if you've pushed QB to this point, look, at the 11th round, you had the opportunity to pick up somebody like Hurts, and you could have maybe gotten another running back 2 quality player earlier on by passing on the QB. And the difference between the QB that we did get and the QB that we could have gotten might not be enough to justify sacrificing that draft capital that we did, right? Somebody like Matt Ryan is available here, and we could be able to, stack him. If we had, had Ridley fall to us or something, we could have been able to stack Matt Ryan with Ridley and Pitts, and that'd be phenomenal, right? We'd get double points on a lot of different TDs. So that's my point there. All right, so we've got Elijah Moore as a possible guy. I think, Hilton, you got to pass on. He's banged up. Reagor, I like a lot. Gabriel Davis is hiding down here. Look at that. I think I might go with Gabriel Davis, actually. He's showing up in the preseason a little bit. They want me to take Elijah Moore. I'm going to pass on him and go with Gabriel Davis. Reagor's still hanging out there. Let's see what's going on at running back. Let's see what the roster is first before we do that. All right, there we go. We've got 5 running backs, 5 wide receivers. Going to grab one more of each here unless some sort of tight end situation happens. Gesicki's a nice grab. Look at that. That value that you can get in the 13th round at tight end. Again, this is my point. A tight end who last year was pretty darn good. Kind of came out of nowhere on a lot of people, and so apparently they still are sitting there thinking that he should be doing pretty well. All right, so we're looking at running back and wide receiver. I think, there's Jalen Reagor. If we pass on him, we might try to dip down and steal Sammy Watkins, who for some reason has been forgotten. Apparently he was told he's retired by a bunch of people. But what we're going to do here is we're going to make sure that we get one of our guys. One of our guys this year is Ramondre Stevenson. I just think that he's going to be phenomenal. He's going to do an awesome job this year. He may not be consistent enough to get into our lineup, but he's somebody that if you're in like a keeper league or something like that, this is somebody that you want to hold on to. So Ramondre Stevenson, and then we're going to pop over here to wide receivers, see if any of the, Reagor is hanging out there. That's not bad. And look, if we had gotten Hurts, we'd be able to stack with Reagor. That's a late stack that you can go grab. It's not going to be the greatest thing in the world, but it's a pretty good stack that you can go get. Another one is you can get, If you got Terry McLaurin really early, you hold off late, you go grab Ryan Fitzpatrick. So that's going to be a really good stack. I think that one's going to be a really good one, actually. And look, I think, Ryan Fitzpatrick's still available here in the 14th round. So you can make moves like that where you're basically giving yourself the chance to double up on each time one of those guys gets you that TD. So that if McLaurin goes off for a game, you've got a really, really good game going on for yourself then. All right, so I think we just went with a running back there. And so we're going to go with a wide receiver here. I think balance it out nice and even. And we're going to go with either Jalen Reagor or Sammy Watkins. I am sure Watkins is still available there. They don't like this pick every time I make it. They think it's terrible. But Sammy Watkins is the wide receiver 1 in Baltimore, despite all indications to the contrary by the fantasy community. I don't know anybody else who's hyping Sammy Watkins, but other than actual football players like Lamar Jackson, the guy who's throwing him the ball, right? So listen to the players too. Don't just listen to fantasy people, people who know just about as much as you do about it. They've just spent a little more time with it. That's all it really boils down to. All right, we're looking at a kicker and a defense. Like I mentioned before, we're going to do a kicker defense challenge. So rather than saving them for the 15th and 16th picks of our 16, roster league, we would pick them up front. It's going to be lots of fun. Be interesting. All right, 49ers are looking pretty good this year. The Bills are looking okay. They've been playing a lot of teams in the preseason who are not playing any starters of any kind. Patriots always seem to figure it out. It was a rare year recently where they had an off season, defensive year. So that was interesting. But I think what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and grab, I'm going to grab, the Niners, and then we'll go ahead and grab a kicker and we'll call it. All right, Rodrigo Blankenship's still there here on the 7th pick. Is that right? We're at the 6th pick of this round. So that's a pretty good grab, actually. He's going to play in the dome. That's nice. So half his games are inside of a dome. And then he plays in the AFC South where they have a lot nicer weather usually, other than in places, in Tennessee. But they're in the dome down in Houston and they're in Jacksonville. So he gets a lot of games that are covered. He gets a lot of games that have decent weather that are not going to be bothersome. And in our power rankings last year, he showed up. I think he was number 2 behind Jason Sanders. And if people were really paying attention, the consistency between those two guys was awesome. So I'm going to grab Rodrigo Blankenship and then we're going to call it. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for this 12-team standard scoring mock draft. Hopefully that was informative for you as to what you might consider doing at the 7th spot. 7th spot can be a little bit difficult. You need to know what you're going to do up front. I would suggest running as many mock drafts as you can, figuring out what sort of value falls into the second round if you make a specific move in the first round. I would suggest that you have to have a few guys that you really want to grab, that you really want to make sure are on your team. And then go get those guys. Find ways to make that sort of thing happen. Build your team the way you want it to be. All right. Don't sit back and listen and say, this guy's rankings, mine, are better than anybody else's, because they aren't necessarily better than anybody else's. They are my rankings. They're my feelings on what it is. And we've been doing this for quite a while, but so have you. So trust yourself. You can do it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this one, and I will see you next time. We're starting back up on our final run through of rankings, preseason rankings before the season gets going. All right, talk to you later. Bye.